We are ready now to listen to the words of the Holy Gospel and its message for us today. Please join us in singing the Gospel acclamation.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you,
Lord. Jesus took Peter, John, and James and went up the mountain to pray. While he was praying, his face changed in appearance, and his clothing became dazzling white. And behold, two men were conversing with him, Moses and Elijah, who appeared in glory and spoke of his exodus that he was going to accomplish in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had been overcome by sleep, but becoming fully awake, they saw his glory and the two men standing with him. As they were about to part from him, Peter said to Jesus, "Master, it is good that we are here. Let us make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." But he did not know what he was saying. While he was still speaking, a cloud came and cast a shadow over them. And they became frightened when they entered the cloud. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my chosen son. Listen to him." After the voice had spoken, Jesus was found alone. They fell silent and did not at that time tell anyone what they had seen. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Have you ever driven east at sunrise? As the sun comes up over the horizon, it shines brightly, causing you to squint and maybe see spots. You have all you can do to get the visor down and fill around to find your sunglasses without hitting someone or something. The light is a blinding light. Red lights are almost oblivious, but somehow, in most cases, we're able to get through that and focus ourselves to safety. That blinding light we fight off to see our way will soon become the light of a new day, the source of fuel, light, and the beginning of a day filled with hopes and dreams. A light that brings the night into day, darkness into light, and turns the quiet of night into the hustling noises of a new day. A transfiguring light that changes the way things are. That light we read about in Luke's Gospel is also a light of transfiguration. It shines so bright that it makes Jesus' clothes shimmer and changes his face, and wakes up the sleepy disciples. That light leads to the conversation of Jesus, Moses, and Elijah talking about Jesus' exodus, his going forth to Jerusalem, and eventually his death on the cross. It begins his ministry, his journey to Jerusalem, and his eventual death and resurrection. Have you ever gotten up in the middle of the night and stumbled your way around the room, the dark, lightless bedroom? I think that's how the phrase, "things that go bump in the night," got started. When I stumble around in the dark, I'm sure to stub a toe, or walk into a wall, or a closed door. Bad things can happen in the absence of light. Many of you know that I do an overnight chaplains program at Albany Medical Center. And when I get to bed, I sleep in the chaplain's overnight room. The first night I was on duty, I went to the room and never thought about what happens if the pager goes off in the middle of the night. The room was pitch black. Of course, at 3 a.m., the pager goes off, and I am knocking things off the desk trying to find the phone to respond. You might ask why I didn't turn on the light. Well, that was one of the things I knocked onto the floor when I was stumbling around. After that night, I packed a nightlight, and what a sense of relief to have a little light in the room when I needed it. Many people have darkness in their life because the light of Christ has not been brought to them. During these 5 weeks of Lent that we have left, you can help bring the light of Christ to someone who dwells in the darkness. Try a few things, and maybe you'll find one that fits you and your needs. I met a woman this week who told me that this Lenten season, her promise to God was to not only go to church, which she does faithfully, but to participate in the church's activities and be a volunteer and be part of the church she attends. There are many opportunities out there that need to be done and to get involved, and there are activities that can be done by families as well as an individual. I read a sign at the fire station this week that I passed, and it said, volunteers don't necessarily have the time, they have the heart. Bring the light of Christ to someone in need, someone stumbling in the dark, and you are the light that they need. We all have transforming experiences in our lives, says Father John Bauer, a transfiguration researcher. He quotes 4 insights about these spiritual experiences. First, whenever or however these experiences happen, they just happen. We cannot bring them about, and we are not in control of them. But in these moments, we feel the power and the grace of God. Second, these experiences happen to all of us. They don't happen regularly, but they do happen. Third, these moments are by no means the only time we experience God's presence and grace in our life. And fourth, these experiences help us to see the end that waits. They are not the end to themselves, but they give us hope and courage that we can see what waits ahead in the dark and the future's uncertainty. We know that ultimately we will experience the fullness of God's grace and know the immensity of his love. In our gospel, we heard God say, "This is my chosen son, listen to him." Just as Jesus came from God and returns to God, so do we. In her book, Meditations from a Single Path, Mother Teresa refers to the words printed on a sign in the morgue outside the home of dying and destitute people of Calcutta. The sign says, "I am on my way to heaven." From the moment we are born, we are on our way to heaven. Our death and resurrection are the way we return to God. Our lives with their twists and turns are always on the way home to rest with God. Our home is heaven, said St. John Vianney. On earth, we are like travelers staying in a hotel. When one is away, one is always looking to go home. This weekend, on the Feast of the Transfiguration, think to yourself throughout the day, I am on my way home to God. Then ask yourself, does this change how I go about my day-to-day actions? The answer may come, and you have a transfiguration moment in your life.